Her hands trembled as though even her body could not contain the force of her emotions. When she tried to speak, her voice cracked apart, broken under the strain. The word she used, please, escaped her in a sob, raw and desperate. Tears streamed down her face in uneven streaks, like rivers carving new paths, as if pain itself was reshaping her. She pleaded with me, saying she needed to be there, that she still loved him. That single word, still slashed into me with the precision of glass, sharp and unforgiving. It wasn't past tense. It was present. It was alive. We were standing in the kitchen, that familiar place now charged with unbearable weight. My car keys sat on the counter beside her phone, which had just lit up with a message that changed everything. The words on the screen carried news that her ex-boyfriend had crashed his car. He was in the hospital now, broken and bleeding, hovering on the line between life and death. She had read the notification aloud, her breathing unsteady, her chest rising and falling as though even oxygen had abandoned her. Then she looked at me, eyes wide, filled with desperation, as though I alone could hold him to this earth. I didn't answer her. I couldn't. Instead, I gripped my keys so tightly that the metal cut into my palm. We got into the car and drove without speaking, the silence itself becoming a force that pressed down on us, scraping away fragments of who we once were. She sat in the passenger seat, gripping her phone like a talisman, her knuckles pale. I focused on the road, one hand firm on the wheel, the other clawed into my thigh to ground myself. When we arrived at the hospital, she didn't pause. She didn't look back at me. She flung the door open and sprinted toward him, as though I had never existed. That night, I didn't rage or demand explanations. I didn't wake her or confront her. Instead, I packed a single bag in silence, each folded shirt a final step toward my escape. I left a note on the counter, he has you now. Don't worry. The sound of the lock turning behind me was like sealing the lid of a coffin. It hadn't always been this way. There was a time when she laughed in her sleep, soft bursts of joy that pulled a smile onto my own lips in the dark. Her kisses once felt like vows, heavy with promise, as if I was her beginning and her end. She spoke words I believed, treasured, consumed as though they were truth itself. But even then, shadows crept in. I noticed how long her gaze lingered on her phone, how her lips curled faintly at messages I never saw. When she grew secretive, her voice dropping if I entered the room, I smothered my doubts. I told myself I was paranoid. I forced myself to bury the fears deep. Until that night in the kitchen, when they erupted and drowned me completely. Her admission was not a mistake of phrasing, it was the naked truth. Still love him. Not once, not before, but still. Not memory. Not past. Present. Forever. She had never let him go. She expected anger. Maybe even shouting. But I am not the man she believed me to be. My anger isn't wild, it's cold, precise, merciless. Instead of noise, I sought clarity. She had left her phone unguarded, the passcode the same one I had always known. She still trusted me, even as she betrayed me. Inside, the messages confirmed everything. She told him she longed for him, dreamed of him. She confessed she still wore his old sweatshirt when I wasn't around. And him, he told her he loved her, too, that he never stopped. The cruelest detail was that he didn't even know she was married. To him, I wasn't her husband. I was a shadow, an interruption, a placeholder in her life. I didn't confront her. I became a mask of normalcy. We had breakfast together, dinners at the same table. She laughed occasionally, but the sound was hollow, stripped of warmth. I was already planning. Quietly, methodically. I met with a lawyer and handed over evidence, every message, every timestamp, organized like a case study in betrayal. I moved money into accounts she knew nothing about, the very caution she had mocked me for becoming my weapon. Then I waited. Patient, sharp, ready. The accident was my catalyst. Her confession gave me the confirmation I needed. And when she ran to him, I walked away from her. 2 days later, she returned to an apartment stripped of me. No keys, no shoes, no jacket, just my note waiting in the empty silence. Her phone flooded with messages then. Dozens, then hundreds. Begging me to listen. Telling me she loved me, that she had been confused, that we could repair what was broken. I didn't respond. Silence is heavier than words. Silence forces someone to face their own choices without rescue. Weeks passed. She tried to reach me through others. She even called my mother. My mother knew everything. Her response was as cold as I had become. "You can't find him." Then she hung up. The next day, divorce papers arrived on her doorstep, flawless and untouchable. She signed them without protest, without words. And him, the man she thought was her salvation, he survived. But he didn't choose her. He already had someone else, a fiancée who had stood by him through his suffering. My wife, no, my former wife, was left standing in a hospital corridor, stripped of both her illusions and her dignity. She had destroyed everything for a ghost of her past, only to realize that ghost had already moved on. Now she is alone, surrounded by the rubble of her decisions. Her endless pleas have dwindled down to one phrase, repeated like a prayer: "I messed up." She sends it again and again. And every time I see it, I smile. Because she didn't simply mess up. She chose. And so did I. I didn't just leave her. I erased her. Methodically, cleanly, entirely. As though she had never existed in my life at all. Betrayal doesn't always demand fire and fury. Sometimes the truest form of justice is silence, the kind that doesn't fade, the kind that lingers forever.